Lawlessness conquers failed cities. Cities collapse without order.
Sanctuary isn't compassion, it's collapse.
Escape from Sanctuary City, in theaters now.
As you're watching this, a scandal so momentous it defies belief. A sitting American governor has been caught releasing murderers and violent predators back into American neighborhoods. Not by accident, not through incompetence, but deliberately to hide them from federal immigration enforcement. And as these criminals walk free, Democrat lawmakers in New York are openly teaching illegal aliens how to evade ICE. This is not immigration policy. This is organized sabotage of public safety. And you need to hear who is behind it. So here's what's at stake, though. Since President Trump took office, Illinois Governor JB Pritzker has released over 1,700 criminal aliens with active ICE detainers. These were not low-level offenders. These were individuals charged with murder and sexual violence in other countries, predators who targeted women and children. And Pritzker released them deliberately to hide them from federal authorities. Meanwhile, in New York, Zohran Mamdani issued a full video briefing, instructing illegal aliens on exactly what to say and what not to say and how to block deportation efforts. And he declared New York will always be a city for all immigrants. Translations? Laws don't apply here. So while these politicians protect criminals, ICE officers face death threats up now to 1,200%. They're being shot at, attacked, targeted daily, but they continue the mission. And while Democrats release dangerous criminals into our streets, your gut is going to take a beating this holiday season. Between office parties, family gatherings, and New Year's Eve, rich foods and alcohol are a digestive disaster that is waiting to happen. And that's why you need Good Brew. It's the only probiotic that survives in your hot morning coffee. Co-founder William Doe nearly called 911 when severe acid reflux caused food to lodge in his throat. Doctors wanted him on dangerous antacids for life. Instead, he discovered BC30 probiotic that actually works in coffee. Within a week, his acid reflux was gone. Every morning, I drink a scoop, and you should too. So fight back with one scoop that delivers 1 billion CFUs of beneficial bacteria plus organic fiber. No more post-party bloating. Visit goodbrew.com for your free travel size plus 10% off with code NEXTNEWS. That's Goodbrew, GOODBRU.com. It's linked below. But let's talk about the crisis because it extends far beyond Illinois and New York. In Alabama, 82 illegal alien truck drivers have been detained on ICE holds since late October. 12 of them did not have a license of any kind. Think about that. Unvetted foreign nationals behind the wheel of 80,000-pound machines on American highways. In Tennessee, immigration arrests have more than doubled. And in New Orleans, local police are now working hand in hand with ICE in Operation Catahoula Crunch, arresting high-priority criminal aliens that Biden-era officials ignored. The crackdown is absolutely accelerating. Here we have it. Governor Pritzker being exposed since Trump took office. Illinois Governor Pritzker released illegal alien filth back into the community, totaling 1,700 with active ICE detainers. What is wrong with JB Pritzker, besides his obvious love of the buffet line?
17 report now on sanctuary policies in the state of Illinois. Immigration and Customs Enforcement saying that Governor Pritzker has overseen the release of more than 1,700 dangerous criminal illegal aliens since the 20th of January, including murderers, pedophiles, and kidnappers, sending them back into neighborhoods and putting American lives at risk.
This is my state. 1,700 of them. All now back on the street. Here is the new mayor-elect of New York City, the communist Zoran Mandami, issuing a statement to immigrants in New York City on how to evade ICE and what to say and do to avoid deportation. Sounds like obstruction of justice to me, but, you know, I'm just a guy over here behind the camera.
Last weekend, ICE attempted to raid Canal Street and detain our immigrant neighbors. As mayor, I'll protect the rights of every single New Yorker, and that includes the more than 3 million immigrants who call this city their home. But we can all stand up to ICE if you know your rights. If you encounter ICE, these are the things that every New Yorker should know. First, ICE cannot enter into private spaces like your home, school, or a private area of your workplace without a judicial warrant signed by a judge.
Okay, that's standard. That's standard. That's standard. Yeah. I mean, he's got to educate, I guess. Well, if you're illegal, you don't know the law, so what would they know? I mean, I actually took a Constitution class in 8th grade that's where I learned about these things. Oh, boy.
That looks like this.
Okay, so he's showing us, okay, guys, this is what a warrant looks like. They have to show you this. Wow.
Does not have a judicial warrant signed by a judge, you have the right to say, I do not consent to entry, and the right to keep your door closed.
How come you're not speaking in Spanish, bro? Oh, you got the Spanish subtitles going.
Sometimes ICE will show you paperwork that looks like this.
Oh, we got more.
And tell you that they have the right to arrest you. That
more
is false.
paperwork.
ICE is legally allowed to lie to you, but you have the right to remain silent. If you're being detained, you may always ask, am I free to go? Repeatedly until they answer you. You are legally allowed to film ICE as long as you do not interfere with an arrest. It is important to remain calm during any interaction with ICE or law enforcement. Do not impede their investigation.
Okay, so this is the guy who was just kissing Trump's ass in the Oval Office. Back to his old tricks. And yes, Governor Pritzker, 1,700 illegals released. Drive-by media 10 hours ago, DHS official Lauren Bies calls out the media lies about ICE while defending criminal aliens. Trump's team is pushing forward and deporting every illegal alien that they find. An official message from the Department of Homeland Security.
Hi, I'm Lauren Biss, Deputy Assistant Secretary at the Department of Homeland Security. And this week, we've got some new fake news stories to debunk. So let's get into it. First, another false family separation story going around. ICE does not separate families. Parents are given a choice. They can either be removed with their child or place them with a safe adult they designate. We encourage all parents to use the CBP Home app to leave now with their families and receive a free $1,000 stipend. In this case, these illegal aliens from China were issued a lawful family removal order. The parent refused to board the plane and got aggressive, tried to flee, and even endangered his own child. As a result of the parent's aggressive actions, the child was placed in ORR custody. This is no different than if a U.S. citizen parent committed a crime. Next, the LA Times falsely reported that our law enforcement are not experiencing a more than 1,000% increase in assaults against them. This is a bold-faced lie. The facts and images speak for themselves. These are just a few examples of the horrific acts of violence being committed against our brave law enforcement. And finally, the viral video claiming ICE arrested a woman who was trying to report a sexual assault. Here's the real story. She is an illegal alien with 8 prior arrests, including for drugs, fraud, forgery, a stolen car, and a fake ID. Her visa expired in 2016. She's had a final order of removal since October 2025. Tune in next week where we debunk more lies and fake news stories.
An official message from the Department of Homeland Security with a nice little background track. And keep you going. Keep your foot stomping while you're crushing the fake news with it. Oh, here we have this. Oh, this is crazy. Truck drivers have been detained, 82 of them, in Alabama on ICE holds since October. 12 did not even have a license in Alabama.
This crackdown will 82 truck drivers have been detained in Alabama on ICE hold since late October. It is part of a new state crackdown on commercial drivers. Governor Kay Ivey says 12 of those detained did not have a license of any kind. Our Shelby Myers in the studio now. And Shelby, you spoke with the Alabama Trucking Association about this.
Yeah, I did, Camera. The president and CEO says this crackdown will hopefully weed out what he calls bad actors in the trucking industry. Multiple fatal truck crashes led the U.S. Department of Transportation to promise a crackdown on issuing commercial driver's licenses, or CDLs. One of those deadly crashes happened in Thomasville over the summer. A Ukrainian-born truck driver ran a red light. He crashed into several cars, killing 2 people. He was in the U.S. on a visa and had a valid license, but he does not speak English. English proficiency is required for a CDL. Alabama joining in on the crackdown. Governor Kay Ivey announcing a partnership between ALEA and ICE. They're targeting major interstate corridors where truck traffic is heavy. Governor Ivey says troopers referred 242 people to ICE during 2 operations over the past 2 months. Of those, 82 drivers were detained based on their immigration status, and 12 of those did not even have a driver's license of any kind.
What the hell is going on? How does that even happen? How does that even happen? 12 didn't even have driver's licenses. You see how they whittled that number down? 282 to 12? God.
When I talk to truck drivers and professional drivers and small business owners, they're frustrated because they're in a tough economy. On one side, they get attacked by lawyers and frivolous lawsuits, and on another, unfair competition for people who break the rules and don't operate fairly and unsafely.
Mark Colson heads the Alabama Trucking Association. He says some foreign drivers' work visas expire, but their commercial license stay valid. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy has issued a directive to states to align the 2 timelines. Duffy says he is also planning to shut down about 3,000 drivers' training schools nationwide. He says they failed to meet training standards, and some are accused of falsifying training data.
3,000 schools about to get shut down. They're just pumping out these licenses. Tennessee. New data shows a sharp climb in immigration enforcement across the state. Buckle up.
News 2's Caitlin. Well, new data shows a sharp climb in immigration enforcement across the state. Deportation Data Project got a copy of ICE arrest records through mid-October. News 2's Ken Quisberry breaks down the trends here in Tennessee.
We knew that we would see an increase in numbers of people being arrested, detained, and deported.
President Trump has promised to deport 1 million people a year.
President Trump has been very clear from the time that he came into office that he was going to secure our border, stop the invasion that was happening under the Biden administration, and make sure that we were deporting and bringing to justice illegal criminal aliens.
And in Tennessee, the Deportation Data Project shows immigration arrests have more than doubled since last year. Statewide, October was the highest month this year, with more than 800 arrests.
Well, new data shows a sharp climb in immigration.
And we have more. Ilhan Omar expecting immigrants to assimilate. Oh, no. This is unbelievable. Wait till you hear this.
At scale, I want to ask you about something else that the architect of the president's immigration policy, Stephen Miller, said. On Thanksgiving Day, he posted, "No magic transformation occurs when failed states cross borders. At scale, migrants and their descendants recreate the conditions and terrors of their broken homelands." What do you make of this argument of failure to assimilate and sort of ruining America? How do you understand this?
I mean, when I think about Stephen Miller and his white supremacist rhetoric, it reminds me of the way the Nazis described Jewish people in Germany. And, you know, as we know, there have been many immigrants who've tried to come to the United States who've turned back, one of them being Jewish immigrants immigrants. We know the way that people were described who were coming from Ireland, Irish immigrants. We know the way in which people were described back then when they were Italian immigrants. And to me, we're yes, of course, ethnically Somali. We are in this country as Americans. Yeah. We are citizens. We are productive part of this nation, and we will continue to be.
I want to ask you something else.
I'm Italian and Irish, okay? So I know about the stories that were told, from my grandparents and my great-grandparents about the persecution and the racism towards Italians and Irish people back a long time ago. But did you catch what she said about the Nazis?
The architect of the president's immigration policy, Stephen Miller, said, unthinkable borders. At scale, migrants and their descendants recreate the conditions and terrors of their broken homelands. What do you make of this argument of failure to assimilate and sort of ruining America? How do you understand this?
I mean, when I think about Stephen Miller and his white supremacist rhetoric, it reminds me of the way the Nazis described Jewish people.
Yeah, just default to the basic operating system in her brain. Oh, the NPC vibes are strong with Ilhan Omar. Another incredible development, federal immigration agents getting massive assistance from local police in New Orleans.
The highest
is there with more. Hi, Garrett. Good morning.
Dana, good morning to you. Pretty much all weekend long, if Border Patrol was out on the streets, protesters were right behind them. And we'll show you some video of that. You can see this is over in the city of Kenner, just outside New Orleans, where this operation has been spending a lot of time. Kenner has the highest concentration of Hispanic residents in the state. And you can see Commander Greg Bovino and his team going door to door in that area, looking for specific targets. And almost everywhere they went, a crowd was following them, blowing whistles, honking horns, yelling into megaphones, trying to warn the community that federal agents were in the area.
I pay a year, and I pay college for my kids. You know how much taxes I pay a year? I pay a
Next order. Yeah, at one point, some of the demonstrators even followed Bovino and his agents into a gas station to confront them as they were buying drinks.
And we're not going to keep on stopping. We're going to keep on following you. So.
Got it. Yeah, one of the things that makes this operation unique is that outside of New Orleans, local police departments are helping the feds with some of the immigration enforcement. Kenner's police department says its officers working with ICE arrested this high priority target, a fugitive with multiple warrants for robbery and domestic abuse. The city's police chief tells Fox his town is the complete opposite of a sanctuary city.
Look, I'm an elected police chief. I work for 70,000 people. I know.
Is there with more.
Let's go. New Orleans, baby. Making it happen. Tom Homan. Fake news, Dana Bash whines about the tactics of ICE heroes arresting criminals, illegal scum.
Our own eyes. And there's just the aggressive tactics that we are seeing in video after video. You're comfortable with those tactics that we're all seeing with our own eyes?
Look, threats on ICE officers are up 1,200.
Are you comfortable with the tactics? Are you comfortable with what your eyes see? That's law enforcement, honey. Okay?
%. They're being doxxed on social media. They're getting death threats every day. They've been attacked. They've been shot at. And these officers out there look for the worst of the worst, so they're protecting themselves. And I think they're following the law. And if any ICE officer, Border Patrol, acts out of policy or does something inappropriate, they'll be held accountable. But we got to remember, I mean, they're under attack, and we're at a place in this country where all of a sudden the ones who enforce the law are the bad guys, and the ones who broke the laws are victims. I'm going to trust the men and women of ICE and Border Patrol who've been trained very well. They're doing the right thing. But I'll say again, if someone does something inappropriate, out of policy, illegal, they need to be held accountable. But I simply think I haven't seen that. And again, I'm not in every arrest. I'm not in every operation. I trust the men and women of ICE and Border Patrol to do the right thing.
And they're just the aggressive.
That's what they do. The aggressive. They're so aggressive. Huh. The Trump administration, Tom Homan, still with Dana Bash. Over 62,000 children found by the Trump administration.
Even being looked, I look at the numbers every day. On Friday, I looked at the numbers. There's over 62,000 children found by the Trump administration. Children that weren't even being looked for under the Biden administration. President Trump saved over 62,000 children's lives. Some of these children were in sex trafficking, we found them. Some were in forced labor. Some were being mistreated. I can't even discuss some of the mistreatment we found out about. President Trump, again, proves why he's the greatest president in my lifetime. Over 62,000 children rescued by President Trump. Again, children that were ignored and weren't being looked for under President Biden.
So here's the most heartbreaking revelation. You just saw Tom Homan announce the Trump administration has found over 62,000 children. Children that the Biden administration was not even looking for. Some trapped in sex trafficking, some in forced labor. Homan said he can't even discuss some of the mistreatment that they uncovered. This is what sanctuary policies protected. This is what Pritzker enabled, and this is what Democrats defend. Now, the story matters because it exposes the true costs of sanctuary state policies. Governor Pritzker did not release these criminals by mistake. He did it to obstruct federal immigration enforcement. Murderers, sexual predators, those who prey on children. 1,700 of them with active ICE detainers dumped back into American communities, my own backyard. And while these monsters roam free, Democrat lawmakers in New York, the communist mayor of New York, are filming tutorials on how to evade arrest. Ilhan Omar says expecting immigrants to assimilate reminds her of the Nazis. This is the Democrat Party in 2025. They call ICE officers fascists while shielding child traffickers. Think about that. They lecture Americans, you and me, about compassion while 62,000 lost children are rescued from unspeakable abuse. You see, the mask is off now. It was never about immigration to begin with. This was about protecting a criminal pipeline at the expense of American safety. So here's my question. Should Governor Pritzker face federal charges for obstruction? Yes or no? Drop your answer in the comments. Let's have a conversation and support our work at the Next News merch shop. Link below.